should you live up to your principles day to day? This is kind of a broad question, and in some situations, yes, you should live up to your principles, but in others, it's just practically too difficult or even impossible sometimes to live up to these ideals. And so I think that you really have to take it on a case-by-case basis. And so I'll jump into addressing specifically whether or not you should live up to the principle of not going through college, even though everybody around you, and I mean our whole society is geared towards saying that's the only way that you'll be successful. If you really want to be able to come to a good, valid conclusion on whether or not you should be living up to your principle in any certain thing, you really need to do a good cost-benefit analysis and see, well, really, what are the benefits and what are the detriments of doing such a thing in either direction. What are the benefits and detriments of going to college, and what are the benefits and detriments of not going to college? On one hand, if you do go to college, the benefits are, well, first, everybody's going to be really happy about it. They're going to pat you on the back. Oh, good girl. You know, you're doing the right thing, because that's what we all want you to do. You will end up being able to make more money or get a job a little bit easier than somebody else because you have this this piece of paper, this college degree that says that, you know, you went through all the hoops. You'll also be able to meet people that share the same interests. You'll have kind of this regimen, the set schedule that will kind of encourage, if not force you, to come up with new videos and test your new skills and whatnot. And so, I mean, you know, there are some real benefits to not just the psychological, like, everybody's gonna like you, but you'll actually learn some stuff. And you'll be dealing with a lot of other people, and you'll kind of immerse yourself. And now I'll check out detriments of going to college, and that's that you're going to feel kind of depressed and upset over not living up to your ideals. Some of the drawbacks of going to college are going to be that you're going to feel like you're kind of wasting your time. Literally, that your time is not being spent in the most efficient manner. And another might be that you are going to not really get the best education that you could be getting. Another cost of college is the financial cost. It costs a lot of money to go to college, and a lot of people go into a lot of debt over going to college. So with going to college, we have the benefit of everybody likes it, the benefit of immersing yourself and being surrounded by it, and the benefit of a degree. And on the other hand, going to college, the negatives, the detriments are you might feel bad about not living up to your ideals, you'll kind of feel bad about not spending your time the best, and it might really not even be the best way of learning. And it's the financial cost. And that leads us to not going to college. If you don't go to college, it's a little more complex. If you don't go to college, your options are much larger. You will be able to pretty much do anything you want, and that's kind of daunting, and that makes it a little harder to do a cost-benefit analysis on not going to college. So, I thought that's where I'd give a little bit of my personal experience, because I have kind of seen the other side that most people haven't. And with not going to college, I don't think that there's anybody that really has not commonly embraced not going to college and embraced self-learning and embraced not going with the status quo, and I have myself. I chose not to go to college, initially over financial reasons, but I have since then had someone who would have probably paid for me to go into any field that I wanted, and I chose not to. I've happened to had the luxury of having a laptop, and if I didn't have a laptop, or an internet connection and a good computer, I don't think that the choice would have been so obvious for me. But knowing that I did have a computer and access to the internet and this ability to teach myself, I really did opt for learning on my own pace and learning about what I wanted and not having to go through all the hoops of a structured system that I really, in principle, don't like. In practice, I don't think it's the most beneficial, um, and I'm really not as concerned as most people about making everybody around me happy. I look back on it with no regret, and in fact, I think that I'm better off now than I could possibly have been going to college. I think that the ability to kind of stumble around the internet any direction that I'd like has really allowed me to add on to my knowledge in ways that are relevant immediately, and I've been able to really research things, and I've been able to educate myself to a huge degree. And I really think that I am exponentially more intelligent and more well-rounded and better of a person than I was 4 years ago. And I think that it is really because I have spent an extreme amount of time on the internet learning. And I really, it's not some sort of side thing. I really focus on learning. Also, a cost of not going to school is how do you survive and not go to school? And in my particular case, I did not want to work. I did work for a little while over my first couple years of adulthood, but after my last job, which was only part-time itself, when I was probably like 21 years old, I'm 25 now, so that's like over 4 years ago, I consciously decided that working was really keeping me from being able to expand my education for the sake of not having to pay rent and not having to work for somebody else a whole lot and spend a lot of my time just covering that basic cost of having a roof over my head. For most of my adult life, I have lived in a motorhome. Again, this is because of the financial situations that I was in right as I was turning an adult, but since then I've definitely decided and consciously continued to live in a motorhome, or now currently a van, and so this has allowed me to not work. Really, not work a real job for 4 years now. And it's been rough at times. I've been really broke. I've really had lots of interesting circumstances, and there's lots of costs with doing this. Some of the costs are not having electricity or running water, costs that a lot of people aren't willing to take, but you know, you have to make sacrifices with everything you do. And so I personally decided that not going to college and not working and living out of a motorhome is pretty much hands down better than going to college. But again, that's for me, and I encourage you to do a really thorough cost-benefit analysis of your own situation. But maybe I've been able to give you a little bit of insight into some of the possibilities of not going to college that aren't often talked about. You don't go to college, you better get a job immediately, is kind of the standard way things work. And yet, that's really, it keeps you from being able to learn at the same time. So, I guess I've kind of lived this very awkward and specific path that maybe you can throw into your cost-benefit analysis and be able to see that, you know, maybe there's this option, as well as your options of going to college or options of getting a job or whatever your other options may be. Good luck on your decision. This is a big decision, and I hope you do put a lot of time into figuring out what it is that you want to do.